Israeli football fans clashed with pro-Palestinian protesters after the Europa League match between Maccabi Tel Aviv and Ajax. Now, most of the media seem to be reporting that the Israeli football fans were being the ones attacked. This has actually prompted the Holocaust Memorial Day Trust to put out a statement. We are deeply alarmed and unequivocally condemn the anti-Semitic attacks against Jewish football fans in Amsterdam on Thursday evening. These abhorrent acts, which resulted in multiple injuries, are a stark reminder of the ongoing threats faced by Jewish people worldwide, even in public spaces. Occurring on the weekend of the Kristallnacht anniversary, these attacks serve as a grave warning that the fight against anti-Semitism remains urgent and vital. Now, the statement automatically assumes they were all Jewish, and that's why these attacks happened. Now, despite the entire media painting the Israeli football fans as the victims, what they don't report is what led up to these clashes. Now, this is a video of Israeli football fans chanting, and I quote, "Let the IDF win to fuck the Arabs." Now, according to Al Jazeera, tensions were bubbling for a couple of days, in which they also reports that the antagonism came from the Israeli football fans. Reporting from Amsterdam, Al Jazeera's Step Vasson said the clashes were the result of a build-up in tensions over a few days. Hundreds of supporters of Maccabi Tel Aviv came to Amsterdam, held a very vocal rally in the main square before the incident, waving Israeli flags, and also took down a Palestinian flag, she said. On Thursday, police said on social media that they were being particularly vigilant in the wake of politically charged incidents, including the tearing down of a Palestinian flag from a building. The Israeli fans instigated the violence after arriving in the city and attacking Palestinian supporters before the match, an Amsterdam City Council member said. They began attacking houses of people in Amsterdam with Palestinian flags, so that's actually where the violence started, Councilman Jazi Verhuizen told Al Jazeera on Friday. As a reaction, Amsterdammers mobilised themselves and countered the attacks that started on Wednesday by the Maccabi hooligans. Now, none of us are surprised that the media have once again weaponised anti-Semitism, have allowed the narrative that Jewish football fans were attacked unchallenged. Kevin, again, no surprise from the media, but what do you make of the Holocaust Memorial Day Trust getting involved and even mentioning the Kristallnacht?
I personally think it's an absolute disgrace that they would dare invoke a genuine example of genocidal, brutal hatred and violence, especially in the home city of Anne Frank in Amsterdam itself. The mood music of that couldn't be more poignant to defend far right hooliganism. And that's exactly what this is. Maccabi Tel Aviv, alongside the fact that Israel should have been sanctioned in the way that Russia has by being kicked out of international sport. Indeed, we have historical precedent for that with apartheid South Africa and how that can work. So that should have happened already. But regardless of that, the actual individual club itself has a past of doing this. This is what happened. We saw in the round of 16 game in the same tournament last year, they played Olympiakos in Piraeus, which is a suburb of Athens. And they attacked Arab fans there too. They deliberately go after and attack Arab people and Palestinian sort of supporters and try and antagonize in that way. They turned up as guests in a foreign city in Amsterdam, decided to be violent, politically charged all the way through, sing unbelievably genocidal songs, damage local property, and indeed try and take away people's freedom of rights, their freedom of speech by taking down their flags. Then inside the stadium, what is virtually unreported on, it seems, is that Ajax were holding a 1 minute silence before the game to honour the dead of the recent floods in eastern Spain, during which the entire minute was ruined by jeering and booing from the Maccabi Tel Aviv away supporters. They had been attacking and verbally accosting Amsterdammers in the street all day. So, I mean, for me, this is an issue of FAFO. Fuck around and find out. This is what happens. No one is suggesting that violence is the necessary go-to in all of these instances, of course, terms of service and all of that jazz. But ultimately, if you're going to act in this way, you can't be surprised when people defend themselves. To put it in terms that Zionists might understand, Amsterdam has a right to defend herself.
Very true. I'm sure there were some people there who were anti-Semitic. I mean, people need to know that people will jump on certain things for bad reasons, but the media has been completely one-sided. If the media were to be fair, at least show the other side. Now, I don't think it's an equilibrium, right? I don't think it's there was just as many anti-Semites there as there were pro-Palestinian people. They were just Israeli hooligans from a football match.
Yeah.
I mean, how many British football teams go abroad, go to Europe, and our fans, destroy things and beat people up? And to be fair, we're rightly called out for it. But this time it's Israel, so the media essentially get behind them and say, "Oh, it's clearly anti-Semitic." Even for the Memorial Day Trust to get involved,
I mean, that's
it's really insane.
That's the really grotesque element of this. You would expect the media to come out and do their usual bullshit because essentially they're bought and paid for shills of Zionist interest. That's all that's there, right? Um, But the Holocaust Memorial Trust should have something more to them than this. They should understand the dynamics of what's going on here. Again, not to harken on a point too much, but this is the city of Anne Frank, and Ajax is a team that has a strong traditional link with the Jewish community of the Netherlands in the way that various other clubs around the world, Tottenham Hotspur here in the United Kingdom, for instance, they're thought of as a traditionally Jewish club, even though, of course, most of the supporters are not themselves Jewish. They do have a strong link to that football club. So the idea that this is some sort of Nazi-run hellscape is clearly and obviously ridiculous. And again, we have to go back to the sort of poison at the heart of Israeli society. It was reported that in the Jerusalem Post 3 days ago that Mossad agents would be traveling with the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans. Now, far be it from me to ever gain in any kind of conspiracy here, but we know that Mossad have acted as agent provocateur in situations that they know will allow Israel to play the victim. And this
And
does
there's been instances when they've been over here when there's been pro-Palestinian marches.
exactly, yeah,
And they've done it, and that's not a conspiracy. I mean, sometimes they just admit it, like,
yeah, exactly.
But it's antagonism to. I mean, would you say this? What happened in Amsterdam is almost by design. You want it to look like this because then they can say, "Oh, look, the whole world is against
Yeah,
Jewish people. Therefore, Israel has to engage in genocide because it's Israel versus the entire world."
exactly, yeah. I mean, it's pretty obviously the case that this is sort of a
Yeah.
staged event, as it were, because Israel had planes on standby to go to the Netherlands from Israel in order to pick these fans up. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is what they wanted to happen. They once again have interfered with what should have been a peaceful event, made it violent in order to play the victim and therefore cover up the fact that they are still ongoing the genocide of the Palestinian people. In fact, this is very much, I think, to deflect from the fact that they literally announced 3 days ago that northern Gazans would not be allowed their right to
Yep.
return to their homes. So it was a land grab. It was never about hostages. It was never about defeating the evil Hamases or anything. It was about stealing land. It's about Zionism doing what Zionism
And
has
remember,
always
that was
done.
supposed to be a conspiracy theory. When we called it out ages ago.
Yeah.
People have been calling it out for years. It's about land grab, and they're only pushing people to other areas of Palestine down south, by the way, and then they bomb those so-called safe routes out, so they can land grab. And they say that's a conspiracy. Some people say it's blood libel. Well, they're literally saying it themselves now.
Yeah. Also, accusations of blood libel would be far more seriously taken if you weren't in the streets singing about the extent to which you have killed Arabs and you want to continue
There
to
you
kill
go.
Arabs. Like, are you not blood libeling yourselves there, Maccabi Tel Aviv?
Possibly. Now, the hysteria around anti-Semitism, it's creating a culture of fear. I know me and you have spoken about this many times, but we get new viewers all the time. What Zionism is doing, what the media is perpetuating, this is harmful to Jewish people.
Yeah.
Because this story concerns football fans. Not every Israeli is Jewish, but when we do that, it makes them feel like that every Jewish person is facing an existential threat. Not to say that they're not facing threats and racism, they are, but it's making Jewish people scared day in, day out. It's not standing up for Jewish people, is it?
No, and of course, and I think we'll probably get into this with the story also from just across the border in Germany next, I think. But the linking of all Jewish people to the heinous crimes of the Israeli state is itself
Yeah.
an anti-Semitic trope, which used to be the exclusive regard of Nazis to try and say, look, all of the Jews want to do X, Y, and Z. Whereas now they're literally just openly saying, if you oppose Israel, you're opposing all Jewish people. So you're intrinsically linking the fate of Jewish people who have no connection to Israel, have never been there, have no interest in going there, and oppose the actions of the IDF with the IDF, with the kinds of filth like Benjamin Netanyahu, right? That puts Jewish people at risk. That undermines the seriousness with which Jewish culture should be taken around the world, and endangers Jewish people in situations that needn't be there. And, as you said, makes them scared constantly of things that, whilst there's certainly an element of it, anti-Semitism has been on the rise in a very serious way. And again, we'll talk about Germany shortly. But one reason that, again, undermines this is things like the not Hope Not Hate, the group in America anyway, who have put down anti-Israel protests as anti-Semitic actions intrinsically. So you're
even just questioning Israel can sometimes be considered
the numbers
anti-Semitic.
by which this is being judged, which you needn't do because there is already an increase in anti-Semitism. That's a serious thing that needs to be taken seriously. But you undermine that seriousness when you have incidents like this, where it's clear and obvious that the Zionists are at fault and were the aggressors, but you put it down as anti-Semitic.
I think you're referring to the ADL, the
Anti-Defamation League. There we
go. So a story came out which basically said they're going to change their definition of anti-Semitism, which includes criticisms of Israel or anti-Israel marches. Now, of course, Israel is not a protected state. It's a state.
Yeah.
Not a protected characteristic. It's a state. That's being included in anti-Semitism. And then they say, oh, it's on the rise. Massively on the rise. It is on the rise, but it's not on the rise on the level they're claiming it is.
Support independent media. Support social justice that's there on social media. Thank you. Turn left.